I've been self-publishing books since 2021, and I also self-published my debut novel in 2015. So I've been self-publishing books for a long time. I've written about 10 books, I think, like give or take 10 books, and I've published 7 of them. And in this video, I'm gonna share with you 10 things that I wish that I'd known before I started self-publishing. These are things that I might have heard some people tell me, that I kind of maybe knew in the back of my head as being true, but didn't fully have to confront until I was actually doing it. And so these are things that I found would have been useful to know when I was going in, mostly just so I could adjust my mindset and really know what I was getting myself into. So just a little bit about me so you understand where I'm coming at this from and like what I've been doing in my career. I write genre fiction. I write like dark romance, horror, paranormal thrillers. So it's really commercial fiction, and all of my experience and like knowledge is all based around building a readership around commercial fiction. So I don't have any experience with nonfiction or memoirs or anything like that. Honestly, that's probably all you need to know about me before we just jump right into this, so I'm just gonna jump right in. The first thing that I wish that I'd known is that it is so much work. Like, I know people know that self-publishing is a lot of work, but it is so much work. When you indie publish a book or when you self-publish a book, you do everything yourself. You're in charge of the writing of the book, of the formatting of the book, of the design of the book, of the distribution of the book, of the marketing. Your success rests squarely on your shoulders, and so you're the one that controls everything. You have to write the book, you have to upload the book to all of the distributors, you have to figure out the pricing models of the book, you have to market the book, you have to put yourself on TikTok, you have to learn how to design Instagram graphics, you have to figure out Facebook ads, you have to figure out Amazon ads, you have to learn how to produce audiobooks. If you sell direct, you have to actually order those books, package and ship all of those books out. You have to be the one scheduling all of those shipments to go out. You have to communicate with your readers. If your readers have a question, you have to be the one to answer them. You have to do your emails. And this can be really hard because you just have to learn how to do so many jobs. I love to write. My love of writing is what is making me do all of this in the first place. It's not the only thing that I do day to day. I've had to learn how to do so many things that make me so uncomfortable. Putting myself out there on social media makes me so uncomfortable, especially being on TikTok and doing short form videos. Really, really uncomfortable stuff, but I had to sit down and force myself to do it. My next giant mountain I have to climb is Instagram graphics, because I have absolutely no sense for design and I don't have an eye for that, and that is another hurdle and another thing that I have to learn. But you're constantly learning things and constantly needing to push yourself to be good at all of these things, and it is a really wide variety of things. I've also found, and I know that this is the case for basically any business, but nobody cares about your business as much as you do. Nobody cares about the product, nobody cares about your readers as much as you do, and so you're the one that is going to put 110% of the effort into everything that you do, and you can hire people to do other jobs for you, and sometimes you can get really lucky and find really amazing people, but it is very rare to find someone that cares even close to the same amount. I mean, other than like, you know, your spouse and people who know you in real life. Like, you know, my dad is a super fan, he cheers me on about everything and he really cares, but people that, you know, I would hire to help me in my business aren't as dedicated to my books and my business as I am, which is completely normal, but it just means that sometimes you get the feeling as an indie author that if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself, and that just makes you have to take on more work. And so this can be a real challenge, even when you do find really great people to hire and bring onto your team to give some of the workload to, you still have so much that you have to do yourself, and you can't really just give everything off to a publisher when you're an indie, because everything comes back to you. And you are your business. So it definitely keeps you busy. When people say that being an indie author keeps you busy and is a lot of work, believe them. Obviously, depending on the scale that you want to do it. If you just want to upload your book to Amazon and not really do very much marketing, then it's not going to be as much work as if you know, are writing and putting out multiple books a year and are constantly running these big campaigns and having marketing campaigns, and like just all of that is a lot more work. Depending on what your goals are, it is a lot of work. Number 2 is things are extremely expensive. Either you pay for things with money or you pay for things with your time. And both of these things are valuable. Bringing on a personal assistant and hiring somebody to help you is great, but they can be very expensive. And sometimes it is hard to afford bringing on someone else into your business, especially when you're not making a lot of money to begin with. So if you can't afford to put money behind all of these tasks that you have to do as an indie, you have to put your time behind it. And that is a time trade-off that you could otherwise spend writing, and so that is hard too. And obviously you can't pay for everything in time. Like, editors are expensive and they cost a lot of money. Paid advertising is very expensive and also often unsuccessful. Unless you hire someone to do your Instagram, YouTube, TikTok marketing themselves, you pay for that by actually putting your time behind that, having to spend a lot of time learning those platforms and putting yourself out there. I've had this channel for 6 years now, and I've only just hired an editor to help me edit my videos. I used to edit every single video. Before this year, everything was edited myself because I couldn't afford a YouTube editor. And that's been absolutely fantastic, but I had to be able to grow the channel on YouTube to be able to afford that. And things are just, everything is very expensive. I'm just warning you that everything is expensive. And I still do all of my social media marketing myself. I am like posting to TikTok, that's all me. I'm only just now in the point in my career where I'm bringing in enough money that I can afford to hire some help. And so this is a very new thing for me, but up until this point, I've been doing everything myself. And shockingly, I still do a lot myself. Like I'm very, very busy just trying to maintain the business. In point one, it's a lot of work. There are a lot of things to do. And in point two, things are really expensive. And even when you're doing things all yourself and you're not hiring help, things are still expensive. Like you have to buy covers, you have to hire editors. I mean, you don't have to do any of these things, but the more of these things that you do, the more professional your product is. So my point is there are no easy hacks or shortcuts or ways around it. When you're self-publishing, you're paying for things out of pocket. Of course, you can choose what you're actually going to pay for and spend money on. You usually have to spend a little bit of money to self-publish a book, and the range is very big. I was surprised how quickly things add up and how expensive editors are and how expensive covers are and how, quick it is to get a very, very big bill for a book, even when you don't feel like you're doing a lot or going overboard. So the third thing is that there is no shortcutting quality. If you don't write a book that readers actually want to read, you are not going to be able to build a career as an author. It sounds super obvious, but it's really important. Your book may be high quality, but if readers are not feeling emotionally connected to it, or they're not wanting to jump in just after hearing the premise, or they're not like clamoring to try to read that book, then you're not going to be able to, no matter how many things that you do, no matter how much money you throw behind it, you are not going to find the kind of success that you need in order to build a career. In my opinion, this is especially true now with the rise of AI and how many people are writing AI books and using AI very heavily during, like, in parts of their process. There's a lot of books being published and they're not all very high quality, and readers are desperate for high quality books. Readers want to read books that imagination and thought and effort has gone into creating. They don't want to read the same story just regurgitated in the most cliche way over and over and over and over again with tons of plot holes and editing issues that was written by AI. Writing slower but higher quality books is going to set you apart nowadays, rather than trying to write as fast as possible if you have to compromise on quality in order to publish faster. There are AIs that will publish a book in 3 days. They can write a book and publish it immediately, or in 1 week. There are authors that can just generate books that quickly and just put them up on Amazon. You are never going to be able to outcompete an AI for speed, but you are absolutely able to outcompete an AI for quality. So double down on your craft, double down on what makes you human, double down on your human emotions and figuring out how to elicit those human emotions in your writing, and make that and put absolutely everything that you have into your book. Focus on the details, focus on the little stuff, every single tiny detail that goes into your story. Leave no stone unturned. Make sure that you've put all of your effort and love into your product, and then put it out into the world. Because a high quality product is going to be a better building block for your author career than fast products that not a lot of thought has gone into. To have a successful career, you have to be able to write a good book. And so really learning the writing craft and learning what makes you come alive when you're writing, and learning what makes your readers come alive and want to connect to your story, is the most important thing that you can do for your career. You can get the fanciest cover in the world, the most expensive editors. You can buy like a developmental edit, a copy edit, a manuscript assessment, and just put a ton of money into a story that would be like a good polished quality product after all of that editing. But if it doesn't make people feel something and it doesn't make people want to buy it immediately, then it's not gonna sell. And publishing is a business. If you want to build a career where you're making money off of being an author, you have to be able to combine your love, like obviously nobody would ever be doing this if they didn't love writing. The love of writing is what makes you want to go into this career. So you have to combine your love of writing and your artistic side with your business sense. And this is a business where you need to get like the most people to buy your product as possible in order to like have your business be sustainable. It's all about like the number of books sold, because you don't make a very high return on each book. You have to sell a lot in order to be able to make good money. So you want something that's going to emotionally impact as many people as you can. And you can do this with niche genre of cross books. My book, The Love Trials, is a very like, it's dark romance and horror and thriller. It's got like Criminal Minds and Supernatural and it's got like all of these things together, and it's very cross genre, and it's still striking a nerve emotionally with people, and that's making it a pretty good seller, and I'm very, very happy compared to other books that I've written in the past, which still sold pretty well, but The Love Trials is blowing it out of the water. The fourth thing is, if things sound too good to be true, that's probably because they are. If a marketing company comes to you and is like, I can sell this however many books in this one short time frame, if you only give me like, you know, this amount of money, I'm gonna be able to sell tons and tons of copies of your book and you're gonna be very successful. That's not how this works. Anyone that comes to you promising things like that, do not give them your money. There are no easy shortcuts in this business. Building a business takes time. My fifth tip is that overnight successes are extremely rare, but you might see like, you know, the odd person just go totally viral on TikTok, and that might seem like it's happened overnight and super exciting, and you're like, maybe I can be an overnight success with my first book too. But my dad has always told me that it takes 20 years of hard work to become an overnight success. Obviously there are outliers, but a lot of times these overnight successes that we'll see have actually been working really hard for a very long time, developing their skills, building their brand, building their voice, and then they just get lucky and something clicks, and then all of a sudden things take off and people are like, wow, what an overnight success, but that's not actually what it looks like. Things take time to build properly. Every single follower or every subscriber that has joined our community has been brought into this community slowly. I've been making videos here for 6 years, every single week, with, you know, some periods where I wasn't very good about it, but I've been very, very persistent. On social media, I've been posting like 5 times a day for over a year. I try to write every single day and put some words down on the page every day, or think about my stories every day, or write in my journal about my stories every day. Sometimes it can feel like things are happening really slowly, but if you just keep chipping away at it and doing the right thing and moving in the direction that you want to go, then things are going to slowly click into place and you are going to build something. Any people that promise hacks and quick fixes are not reliable. Building an author career is such a journey, and sometimes it can feel discouraging if things feel like they're moving slowly, but enjoy the journey. It's such an amazing thing to be able to write stories that make you feel like you come alive and share those with people. What an amazing thing to be able to do with your life. And if you're building your author career, that means that you also love doing that. So enjoy the heck out of being able to do that. Enjoy finding every single reader. Celebrate a little bit every single time you see anybody post on Instagram about your book. Push yourself, but don't always be waiting for like, one day I'm gonna be this really successful author. Like, just enjoy where you are right now, because it's such a cool journey and it's such a great ride, and you're able to upskill all the time and learn all of these new things and experiment with things all the time, and you're constantly learning. And if you're always waiting for like your big break to come around the corner, then you're gonna go your entire career not enjoying the experience of being able to do it. And enjoy where you are now, and you will enjoy where you are later as you slowly build it. But don't ruin your today because all you can think about is tomorrow. This is a freaking awesome thing to be able to do, so just enjoy the heck out of it. My sixth thing is give yourself more time than you need. I was and still can be very bad at estimating how long things are gonna take for me to do. I usually think that I can pull things together faster than I can, and in the past I have set release dates and deadlines for myself that have made me have to compromise steps or skip steps in order to make those deadlines. Always give yourself more time than you need. You will be surprised by how quickly you will eat through that time and how that time will allow you to do things. It's better to launch a book correctly and have it take a little bit more time than for you to rush the process, spit the book out a little faster, maybe cut a couple of editing steps just to have a book out there, but you've published a book that's gonna exist forever that has issues or things that make you cringe. You can always move your release dates up. You can't push them back. Readers are always excited if you're like, I'm actually releasing this book early. It's never happened to me. I've always had to eat up all of the time that I've set for myself, but just always be very generous with yourself about how much time, because you'll be shocked at how many delays that you'll have. All it takes is your cover designer just not sending you the covers on time, or your cover designer getting sick and not being able to answer your emails, or you getting the flu. Right as I was launching The Love Trials, I hung out with my friend, and she the next day came down with the flu, and I was so panicked because I thought that I would come down with the flu during this launch, and I was taking every single vitamin that I had. I was like doing everything that I could to try to stave it off, like meditating, like making sure that like I wasn't psyching myself into getting sick. And by some miracle, I didn't get sick. But if I had, that would have been really difficult for me to manage that launch. But if I'd had a little bit more time baked into my schedule, then that wouldn't have been so devastating. I did actually have a lot of time baked into my schedule for Love Trials. It was one of the first launches that I got my engineer fiance to really help me figure out exactly how long everything was going to take me. And we created a Gantt chart for the entire launch process. And that helped me keep really on track, and everything went very smoothly. So I will be doing that for future launches as well. My 7th tip is that you don't learn how to do things unless you're doing them. You can watch all of the writing YouTube videos that you want in the world. You can read all of the books on being a self-published author that you want, but I would not have learned any of the things, I mean, maybe some, like in theory, but I would not have been able to level up my skills in this, like as an author, unless I was actually doing it. My books would not have gotten better if I weren't writing them, if I didn't have the goal of like every book that I published being better than the last, if I wasn't actually on TikTok making TikToks 5 times a day, trying to connect with readers, trying to learn, I wouldn't have been able to actually be able to make my TikToks better. The only way that you learn is by doing things. And so the quicker that you can just jump into this business and just start doing your best. Like your first book will not be the best book that you've ever written. You will write better books than your first book. I guarantee you. Thank God. But if you don't write that first book, then you won't be able to move on to the next one and learn from that process of writing the first book and apply what you learned to the second one. Yes, you are going to be cringe when you start making videos on Instagram or videos on TikTok. Yes, it's going to be awkward. Yes, you might look at them and be like, gosh, what was I thinking? I look so awkward, and that's really embarrassing. But to be cringe is to be free. Lean into it. Make as many of those cringy videos as you can, and then try to make them better. Notice what actually works in those videos, notice what people respond to, and then double down on that and make more videos like that. But you're not gonna learn how to be comfortable in front of a camera unless you sit yourself in front of a camera and actually try to talk or try to lip sync or anything in front of the camera unless you're actually like doing it. Just jump in and start doing it and learn as you're going. Because I tried to make my They Stay launch absolutely perfect, and there were things that I learned, things that I never did again that I did for that launch, and those are only things that I would have learned from experience. My 8th tip is you need to choose where you put your attention. As an indie author, you are one person and you simply cannot do everything. I recommend not trying to do everything because usually that ends up you doing everything poorly. It's better to try and do 1 or 2 things very well. I'm really mostly talking about marketing efforts here, but like in terms of social media, my social media platforms are YouTube and TikTok. I post on Instagram, but that's only because I cross-post my TikToks there, and my Facebook account is linked to my Instagram account, and that's why my TikToks go there too. That is about all I can handle in terms of social media. I have not been able to handle graphics. I also could not handle TikTok for like the first 2 or 3 years that I was self-publishing. I could only handle YouTube, but as I got YouTube under my belt and I learned YouTube and I got more comfortable, then I felt like I was ready to tackle TikTok. And as I got more comfortable doing all of these things, I could take on more. But it's better to learn a couple of things really well than it is to do try and do everything, because you simply can't. You're one person. And maybe you can when you have a full team behind you, and maybe at some point in your career you'll be able to expand to a full team, but I'm not there yet in my career, and so it takes a while to be able to afford to do that. And this makes jumping in a lot more manageable too. Like if you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna do, let's say TikTok and Instagram, and you just learn those platforms and you don't think about YouTube, you don't think about Threads, you don't think about anything else, you just do those platforms, they're gonna be higher quality than if you tried to spread yourself so thin across all of those things that you wouldn't be able to do any of them well. This is how I'm feeling about paid advertising. I've never been good at it. I did just jump in this year and hire a advertising company to run ads for me. It's a super new thing. I don't know how it's gonna go, but I was like, I wanna expand into that, but I simply do not have the capacity for that. So I'm going to bring someone in and have them do it and then expand, because now I'm bringing in enough money that I can afford to do that. And then we're gonna see how that goes. But things build slowly. I wasn't able to afford that earlier on in my career, and I just focused on putting down like the building blocks that I could myself. And as I slowly started having more things like build, then now I've gotten to the point where I can kind of expand in that way, but I didn't start out that way. My 9th tip, and I already kind of got ahead of myself and talked about this. Things get easier the more that you do them. You get faster at things, and things get more manageable the more and longer that you do them. Things that may seem impossible now will get easier for you down the line. TikTok felt impossible. Like, if you told me in 2021, yeah, you have to post 5 times a day to TikTok, I would have been like, absolutely not. There is no way I will ever be doing that. There is just no chance. Like, that is not sustainable. How does anybody do that? I don't understand. Cut to last February, I was like, I'm doing this. I'm gonna just jump in and do it. And I did. And I managed to make it work. Now I post like anywhere between 3 and 5 times a day, but that has become a huge marketing place for me. Like, my career has completely changed in the past year since I have really started honing in on my TikTok marketing, and also since I wrote The Love Trials. You'd be amazed by how naturally you start being able to handle more, but you learn how to handle more the better that you get at doing the things that you're already trying to do. And so the way that you can handle more down the line is just by focusing in on doing the things that you know that you can do, that you're already doing, as well as you possibly can. Don't try to cram everything onto your plate. Just focus on quality. Just make sure that you're doing everything as well as you can. And then once that starts to feel like, I can really do this, I'm gonna expand into something else, then just choose one thing and do that as well as you can. And slowly over time, you will be able to expand into doing more, just because you'll know how to handle it. Like, I don't have to think about posting. Like, it's not hard now for me to post 3 to 5 times a day on TikTok. I know what hooks work really well for my book. I know what filming locations tend to work really well. I know what types of videos work really well. And so I can tuck away for 10 minutes, film 6 TikToks, and then quickly edit them and post them throughout the day. When I'm, making a cup of coffee, I will just quickly like put in a little caption and post it. Or if I'm on the toilet, I'll just like put on a little caption and I'll just send it out there. And so it's become a lot easier for me to do that. And same with YouTube. As I've become more comfortable talking in front of the camera, my outlines for my YouTube videos are not as long, and I am able to be a lot more authentic and confident in myself, where I choose my words as if I'm actually just talking to you, instead of spending all that time scripting everything out in a lot of detail. And I still do some of that. My point is that things become easier, but the only way they become easier is by you doing them. And my 10th thing is that you can do this. You don't have to be the most talented writer in the world to build an author career and author business. You don't have to be the richest person in the world to build an author career and author business. Obviously, things like that help, but all you need in order to make this happen is a whole lot of grit. You don't need to pay for a professional editor for your book. If you can't afford it, that is not something that should stand in the way of you self-publishing your book. You can find free beta readers. You can get beta reader feedback. You can take the book as far as you possibly can. I went to an author talk once with this guy who was telling us like he could never afford a professional editor when he first started out. So what he would do is he would make it a game with his ARC reviewers that every time they found a typo or found something that needed changing or editing, that he would like say whoever sent it to him first, that they would like get a prize or something. And he made it some sort of like fun interactive thing with them, and they almost became his editing team at the beginning. As he started bringing in more money, he retroactively went and paid for a professional edit of those books after the fact. People want a good story. Obviously, professional editing is important. Obviously, like finding typos in your book is important, but you don't have to do that in order to start building your career. And you can always improve as a writer. I will be the first one to say that I am not a naturally talented prose writer. I love telling stories. I've always really struggled with writing prose. It was just through sheer determination that I was able to improve on that and make that better. And now I can write prose that I'm personally really happy with, that kind of blends into the background. It's nothing fancy, but it blends into the background enough to be super easy to read and allows me to tell my stories how I want to tell them. So that was a whole lot of talking, but those are the 10 things that I wish I'd known before self-publishing. I hope that video was interesting, I guess, to you. Maybe a little bit helpful. If it was, I'd be super grateful if you could give this video a like and also subscribe to my channel. My name is Claire Fraze, and I'm an award-winning author who makes weekly videos sharing actionable writing tips that helped me make my own writing better. I'm the author of The Love Trials, which is a paranormal, horror, dark romance thriller about ghost hunters who hunt the ghosts of serial killers, and a serial killer who takes couples and makes them play games like in Saw, only he accidentally takes a pair of enemies instead. I also have a 5-book published paranormal thriller series called They Stay, which is complete, and all of my books are in KU. Do you agree or disagree with any of my tips? Are there any lessons that you have learned when self-publishing your book that you wish that you'd known when you first started? If so, drop a comment down below. I would love to hear from you, and I'm sure that other members of our community would as well. But I hope you have a fantastic week, everyone. And as always, happy writing.